laptop died. I wasn't keeping an eye on it. So it'll be a day or two before any of this stuff goes up. So I thought I would finish the stories live here since you're there somewhere. And let's see about this. Let's see. Live chat. Yep. Yep. So I got a live chat so you guys can ask me. I didn't read half this stuff you guys sent me. I know there's probably 5 or 6 of you still around. So come on back. I'll finish up the story here. Basically, I'm driving up 220, 66 cuts across. 220 is like a county road. 66 is the interstate. So I jump on the interstate and I shoot up about 70 miles to where this place is. And I still have, and this is when gasoline was, $1.75. And so I got the live chat going. And so is anybody, nope, nobody's back yet. 1 minute and 20 seconds. So come on, guys, get back here. Or else look at it tomorrow, right? However you want to look at it. So anyway, there's one. There's your back. Is that you, AI, or is that a human back here who was chatting? Is it Jamie or somebody? Who's there? Anybody? It's live chat. You can chat if you want. All messages are visible. Okay. But nobody's saying anything. So anyway, I shoot up to this town. And what happened? So the bottom line about this town was there's maybe 600 people living there. It was a nice town. I mean, it had been very rich, so it had a movie theater, it had a supermarket, it had town hall, had a little hospital, school, high school, middle school, grammar school, library. It had a nice community center that had a big gymnasium and a swimming pool. I mean, it was a nice little town. And but when the mountain blew out, so the river kind of came through the town, and when the mountain blew out, the water came flying down this river, a few million gallons, if not like a lot of water all at once. And it was like, 800 feet above the town. And so what it did was it blew out the bridge and that side of the town where the supermarket was and the movie theater. But the side where the city hall, the library, the main part of the town was still there, the hospital, all of that, right? And because West Virginia has so much natural gas, they actually had a power plant that they just drilled down. And West Virginia has a strange rule that on your property, if you drill down and there's natural gas, you can use it, right? You don't have to pay the gas company. Anyway, so, and that means that gas has to be pretty close to the top of the ground because most people don't have the wherewithal to drill a thing down there. Anyway, so this town did. So they had electricity and they were pretty much not on the grid. And so, but that blew it out and it shorted shit out and they had water and sewage. But because that thing happened, it messed that town up seriously. And the coal company and the state and the federal government weren't going to do anything. They just said, leave. We condemn your town. Well, the people who could and take the money from FEMA to, go move a shittier place did that, But there were about 100 people who just didn't have money to even have a car to drive away. And they couldn't because the bridge was washed out, right? But on the backside of that thing that blew out, there was a road, a logging road up there. And if you took that road, you could go across that stream and come into town on the backside. And that's what pretty much everybody did. So about 2 years after that happened, those 100 people still there. I went up there with that. And this is way before, John. This is when I was in Lynchburg, and this girl was from Lynchburg, and so she's one of Jerry's kids, right? And anyway, so she wasn't a kid; she was one of Jerry's teachers. She was, I was in my how old was I? I guess I was in my 50s. She was in her 30s, and we made a team, and she was just a fun-loving girl. No, I don't have my bag. I have a picture of her. And she was another one of my, she was a real Christian. She wasn't uptight about sex. She wasn't uptight about nothing. Everything she did was for Jesus Christ and God. And she had lots of fun. So next time I'll show you a picture of her. And so she would bop into my life all the time. If I wasn't with someone and that was the thing I had about 10 women in my life for about 30 years that would hook up with me, and we were righteous people. So we wouldn't hook up with each other if we were involved with anybody, because we were all monogamous. And so we had spent so much time with each other. We knew each other really well. We, had committed relationships at a certain period of time. And so they would just drop in on me when I had nobody that I was with, and we would have anything from a week to a couple of months together and have a great old time, right? So especially if they were doing something nearby me. So anyway, so this woman, we went up there, and, there's 100 people were still there. And so, but I looked around and I said, we can get electricity going. We can get the water going. We can get the septic sewage going. And let's just do it and don't tell anybody. And this will be your own little hamlet. And nobody will want to come up here, because the whole, not only is the bridge washed out, but the road, 2 miles down there where the, other county road is, they like bulldozed it, big blocks in front of it. The only way to get in and out is through the Forest Service road, and nobody takes that. All the trees are gone. And so we did that, and we brought that town back to life, right? And everyone stayed there, and they grew vegetables, and it was great. It was beautiful. And we stayed there about 8 months, and we had a great old time, and they wanted us to get married, and they wanted her to be the minister, and she was going to be the minister of their souls, and I'd be the minister of the fun, and then we would switch on and off, right? We'd kind of do that. Anyway, so I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to, it hasn't snowed yet. It's bitchin' cold, but it hasn't snowed yet. I'm going to go see if these people are still there, right? Because they had no cell phone, no nothing. And so I started driving up there, and I still, I didn't have that, I now had maybe half a tank of gas, and I'm going, do I really want to go all the way up there and then find nobody there, and then have one, no gas at all and be stuck up, So I said, you know what? I'm going to stop at that diner, right? Which is just before you go another 20 miles where you get off a Mack County road to get up way on top of that mountain and then get on the Forest Service road. So I said, I'm going to stop at that great diner. That's right off of 66 there. And so I did, right? And so I get there. Now, this is maybe 10 hours after John kicked me out at like, 6 in the morning. So it's like no more than 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And I cruise in there, and I park, and I get out, and I go in the diner, and there's this girl spare changing right at the front door of the place. And she is wearing really expensive clothes, expensive shoes, expensive pants, expensive jacket. She has a real nice north side, coat on. Yet it's not winter gear. It's like early fall gear, right? And so what it was, so I look at her and I go, so what's your story? She goes, can you buy me breakfast? I'm starving. And I go, okay, sure. So I basically, take her in. We have breakfast. And the story is this. She's from a relatively well-to-do family in Atlanta, Georgia, right? She had gone to a prestigious college, right, for 4 years. And she studied something like, art or, mid-Victorian tiddlywinks. I mean, nothing like you could get a job with. And but her parents were rich, and they just wanted her to go to college, and she did that. And on summertime, she went with her mother and traveled around, and she never really thought about what she was going to do, and etc. Right? And I'm sure her parents just thought she'd meet some guy and get married, right? I mean, isn't that what college is for women, right? So not today, though. Today, more women are getting graduated from universities in the sciences than boys. Like 60% graduate with engineering degrees or serious degrees, 60% are women, and about 12% are guys, and the rest are who knows. So, so I go, she tells me the story, and she goes, so she knew that she was either going to have to go back to school or marry this jerk her parents wanted her to marry, or she would have to go someplace and get a job like being a barista or something where she could then kind of figure out what she wanted to do. But it would be hard. Up until now, she lived a privileged life, right? She went to private school and grammar school, private school and high school, and private, really good college. And she's from Atlanta, Georgia. And so she had a group of friends that she went to high school, and they all went to different colleges. And they all graduated about the same time in the same thing. None of them had planned for a career or anything. And so it was a group of about 6, 8 people. And they decided that they were going to have to do something that they, marry somebody or get a job, and they probably wouldn't be happy. So they were going to have an adventure, which was kind of interesting for a bourgeois person to think of. And so, see the time vortex all around me? Anyway, so that nobody wants to say anything. It says live chat, all messages are visible, right? So it's live chat. Come on, you can chat. And so, breakfast is repeating. So anyway, I said, where are they? And they said, we found this cabin out in the woods. I said, how far is it? She said, about 15, 20 miles. I said, how'd you get here? Well, I walked about, I don't know how many miles out of the woods to where I got to this county road. And then I hitchhiked. I remember seeing this place. And so I said, okay. So in my car, we drove there, 4-wheel drive Kia, not a problem. It was still kind of new, still in good shape. My pony was still in good shape. And like I said, this is about 2015. And so, or 16, because it was January, right? And so we drive all the way up to this place. And, I said, so where is it? So see, we take a Forest Service road. And she goes, over there. And I said, oh, okay. And I look around and I see, where the skidder road was, so there are no trees there. And I just start driving into the woods. And you can't take, this is a road, but that's not a road. And I said, no, don't worry. And it was a culvert where the stream was. And it was a skidder path. And so I drive right up to this house that looks like it was like Daniel Boone made it, right? So... And it's a sunny day, bitching cold, and we get out, and they're all in there like, and it was this gigantic fireplace with a cast iron arm and a cast iron pot, and there was a gas stove there, and there was a sink with a pumpy kind of, thing, meaning there was a well right there, and all the chinking had gone between the lines. And it was a real traditional, meaning, they first built one log cabin, and then there was the breezeway, and then, but the breezeway had a roof over it, so you could drag wood there and it would get dry. So I said, okay. And so it was obvious that high school kids had been here forever, because there was like McDonald's wrappers and candy wrappers and garbage and bags and you name it. It was all over the floor, and they didn't clean anything up, right? They didn't have any, there was a couple of couches, and and I had no blankets. And I said, "How are you guys still alive?" And I said, "You've been out and you've been doing the AT this whole time." She said, "Well, we did stay at a hotel a number of times, but um, uh, our you know things have died." I said, "Your parents aren't paying the bills, eh? They're trying to teach you a lesson here." And I said, "And our cell phones don't work." And I said, because they couldn't charge them up there. So they had been there for at least 3 or 4 days, right? Because they were out in the woods with no, and luckily for them, it hadn't snowed. It was just cold, and it hadn't been that cold. This was the first day or two of like 20-degree weather. Up until then, it was like, 50s and 40s, and it wasn't that bad. So anyway, I said, "Okay, this is the plan." And they hep to it. I said, "So let's get all the garbage," and I showed them how to chink. Like you take the candy wrappers, kind of roll them up and stuff, and let's get some sticks and just stuff it in to keep the breeze from coming through. Then we go to the other side with the garbage and we stuff it in the other place so this stuff doesn't blow out, right? And so we did that. That took about an hour. And we did that, and I split the team up in half because the guys were useless on doing that, but the girls were pretty good at sticking to a project like that. So the girls stuck with that, and I got the boys, and I see and they said, "Well, we're going to have to go to Lowe's in your car and buy firewood." I said, we're in the middle of a forest. We just pick it off the floor. They said, "Well, there's no firewood in the cabin." I said, "No, the floor of the forest. The forest has a floor. The ground. Look at the ground. Look at all these limbs. You just see that? There's two things, and there's the open space. We drag all the wood into there. How do we do that?" I said, "Listen, my legs are in braces, and you want me to do it? No, you morons. Don't call me a moron. I have a degree in Eastern literature. Shut the fuck up. You want to freeze to death?" So that got their attention. So they did a pretty good job. And what was beautiful about the keep was there was a ledge, from the floor up to where the floor of the stone and it was a gigantic keep. I mean, it was like 4 feet high and about 6 feet wide, and it had a place over here that you could stack all the wood, even if it was wet, because if we had a big fire, it would dry it off. It was whoever did that one, and it had I lit up a piece of paper, just put it there, sucked out, had a grate, right? So anyway, I had them. And because it had that, you could get a pretty big limb, put it there, and just stamp on it, would snap it, right? So, okay, boys, take the big logs, put them over there, underneath the breezeway. The ones that are about this big, you drag in here, and you just jump on them and get them to be about 2 or 3 feet wide, right? And then all the smaller stuff you just break up and make a big pile over here, right? As big piles of small limbs the size of your thumb up over here, okay? Okay. And so I went into the other building on the other side of Breezeway, and it was a lot of, stuff like buckets and shovels and picks and, farm stuff. And it had a little, thing that you could, water, a catchment, right, in there that it looked like they had it, done so the water would run off the roof into this thing, but there was a big hole on that side of the roof, and so it wasn't doing that thing. And so I said, "Okay, guys, this is what you're going to do. Get those buckets. You 3 guys stay here and keep making firewood. You 2 guys come with me. Grab those buckets." So bring the buckets. So they brought the buckets. And I said, there was this little stool. So get on the stool. You here on the floor, hand that bucket up to that guy and pour it in. And just do that until you get it pretty full. And so they were doing that. And so once they got that pretty well done, I had I'm showing everyone how to make a fire, right? And so I had all the stuff I needed in my car, right? So, and I had boxes of canned vegetables, and enough to that's what a go thing is, stuff you can survive for a week, right? So, basically, I started to make the fire. Soon I did. That place was like 70 degrees because we had stopped all the breeze from coming in, and the fire was drawing really great. I went and checked those guys. I had it pretty much filled up to where it should. And so I went over to where the pump was, right? And I did this, and you could hear the water come down, and it primed the pump, meaning there was a well there. And this was the prime. So I did this and this and this, and all of a sudden the water just came flying up. So this place had running water, right? It had this catchment, and it did have, if we had gas, it had a gas stove and a gas hot water heater, right? And a gas heater, right? But that fireplace was kicking. So, so within, 4 hours before it even started to get dark, it was maybe 4:30. So yeah, it was the sun was going down, but we had the fire going. I had to move all the canned goods, and and I had a couple of frying pans and that fire. So they had the big cast iron thing. So I had them take that down to the stream and scrape that out, clean that out, bring it back, filled it with water, and I just dumped cans of veggies in there. And they had this little ledge on the fire that you could put pans on, and I had a nice big frying pan that I could make beans and rice, and we did that. And because I had some bags of canned what do you call it, Mexican refried beans, right? And and some big bags of rice, and so boiled that up, and we had a great dinner. And everyone was like, ooh, wee, wee. And they actually had some herb. So we were all having a good old time. And the next day, I said, it's going to snow in a day or two. I don't know if it's, tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, or the day after that, but it's going to snow relatively soon. So we got to get serious today. We just had, we have all the firewood. I said, no. If this place snows, you may not get out of here till March. So right now, getting firewood is easy. There's no snow on the ground. There's no ice on the ground. You can drag wood in. So we're going to fill this breezeway up, and maybe even the other room. And we dragged other furniture in, and there were a couple of bed mattresses that weren't vermin covered. And so everybody had a place to sleep. And so next day, we wooded out, right? And I showed the girls things to look to. Even at this time of year, you can still get stuff out of the woods to eat. And so I was showing them that. So these kids were really they were no longer spoiled brats. They were really grooving on being self-sufficient, right? I said, this is what, survivable self-sufficiency is all about. So they were like, wow, this is great. We'll spend the rest of winter here. I said, well, you could, So, we're doing that, and we have enough. We got enough I have enough canned food stuff there that they can, at least a week, right? So, so this is going on day 3. That I've left John. I have no idea John. I haven't even thought of John. John's not even, because this is a bunch of kids in their mid-20s who are really interesting. I mean, even though they are slovenly, bourgeois, and useless, they are starting to realize that they actually could have a life here. So, without having to always buy stuff online. So, they're really grooving on this. And so third day, I said, still, we got to fill this breezeway to the ceiling with wood, so we don't have to, because when that snow comes, it's going to be real tough because it's going to be frozen to the ground. It's real easy to drag it in there now. So let's get to, and there were saws in there and axes. And so we were really going to it. And they were really, Paul Bunyan, right? And there was some other clothes that were a little warmer that they were putting on. And anyway, so it was like, wow. And they had been there for a few days and never even went into that other house, that other part of the house, right? So third day, it's sunny. It's actually kind of warm. It's not, the other 2 days were pretty cold during the day. And by this one, it's actually relatively warm, compared to 20 degrees. It's probably 40, 50 degrees, which means there's a front coming in and it's probably going to be snow like you can't believe. So anyway, so I notice a few things that there's somebody else here, but I don't tell them that. So I said, okay, we've cleared all of this out. We're going to now go over to this on the other, just before the stream there and to the other side of the stream, because the stream is kind of dry. We can step through it, step over it, drag shit in, right? So again, in the next few days, things are going to change. So we better get while the doing's getting done, right? So we're doing that. And I'm sitting on this old rock fence, right? And I'm like, over there, gotta get that stuff over there. And they're dragging it in, and I'm sitting over here, and I'm telling them to go further and further from where I am at, because there's somebody or something just like back there. And there's this is a rock fence, right? And there's a big pile of rock over there. And so I get up, I start stretching my legs, and I kind of walk way over there, and I stop, and I'm kind of above where that fence is, and I'm looking down, and there's about 6 guys, or 6 human beings. I don't know whether they're guys or girls, but they're all dressed in desert camo. They all have it's fish, so it works. Again, yes, I'm back. My whatchamacallit died. My battery on my laptop. That's why I disappeared. So that part of the story won't show up, or the part I did this morning won't show up, because I'm now again using my phone. And someone asked what happened to the Russian girl. So I told that story and how John threw me out for the first time because of the Russian girl. And she had, John came down at 3 a.m. and was all freaked out because the girl had fucked his brains out. She was horny. I fed her really good, got her a little drunk, and she took John up there and just had her way with him. And he freaked out because she had hair on her pussy and hair in her armpits, and she smelled. I said, John, she'd been on an airplane for 35 hours. You didn't stop at all. She probably hadn't washed, and I know she smelled terrible. I said, no, she smelled like a human being, Well, Danica, she said, there is no hair on her body at all except on her head and her eyebrows. And that's what I want. I said, John, this girl is beautiful. She's smart. She knows like 10 languages, and she wants to fuck you. Come on, buddy. Wise up. And that's, I said, John, you just woke me up. Go back up there. I mean, if you don't, sleep on the couch downstairs, Anyway, I turned over and went back to sleep. And then 2 hours later, he smashed in the door he had drank 40 cups of coffee, and he had a hammer and said, get out, no. Ah! And when I said, John, let me pack the car. No, go. I own everything. It's all mine. This is my house. Get out. You don't belong here. You're costing me money. Ah! And so I said, okay. And I went outside, and there was the Russian girl naked in this amazing mink coat. It had a hood, and it went down to her calves. But it was open, and she's smoking 3 cigarettes at once. And she goes, he's crazy. I got to go. Can you take me out of here? And he came out and said, I'll kill you. Get out. And so, I had to drive away, and I left the Russian girl with John. And so, and that started when I came back months later. I said, John, maybe, you should not drink so much coffee. So anyway. And then I told her, I went downtown around 6, had, cheesy Western at the Texas Tavern. And then I decided to go to West Virginia and visit this town that I helped out a couple of years earlier. And I found these kids, very bourgeois college kids who graduated had nothing to do, and so they decided to have an adventure. And so, early summer, June, they decided to walk the AT, which is just, I don't know if any of you guys been on the AT. It's just one big party conga line. It's really fun. If you've never hike the AT, and the beauty of the AT is you can drive your car to almost any part of it. They have a parking lot next to the AT. You can get off, especially up there near Lynchburg and Bedford and Rustburg and all those burgs and Roanoke, Blue Ridge Highway goes, you can get on at 3 different places. So you can get on the highway, drive on it. There's parking lot. You can park there. You stop at the Forest Service people, and you get a little sticker. Just stick it on the inside on the dashboard, and if you're going to be there for overnight, it says overnight. If you're going to be there a week, it says a week, and you can keep your car there, right? And most of the places it's free. They just want to make sure that you're not dead, So. Anyway, I took up into West Virginia, which is the AT is up there too, and but not as glorified as the one in the Virginia side. Anyway, and the AT runs from Georgia to Maine. Right. So anyway, so. I'm in the forest with these college kids, and they had found a cabin that got maybe William Tell made it, and all the chinking had fallen out between the logs. But the high school kids have been partying up there forever, so it was just full of garbage. So I just had them stuff the garbage into the chinking space, and it had a great fireplace. I got them to get firewood. We got the firewood. I had lots of cans of food because I always have cans of food in my car for either homeless people or me if I'm stuck someplace. So we had 2 great nights, and it had gotten warm, and I said, it's going to snow any day now, so let us really get as much firewood as we can. So we were doing that, and that's when I noticed these people who were watching us, and I kind of went around behind them and got above them and saw them, and they were people in a military gear, desert camo, and they had their military packs, and they were totally decked out in military everything, right? They had helmets and everything, and they were, they had their ARs, right? And there were about 6 of them, 2 girls, 4 guys. Anyway, I'm up above them, and I couldn't believe that I got behind them, and I said, "Yo!" And they were like, looked up. I said, "Guys, I can't believe I got up behind you." And so how long you been watching us? And they said, and I kind of hobbled down because I was no threat. I had these clamps on my legs. I had 2 arms, and I hobbled down, and they actually come over and help me over the fence, the stone fence. And we sat down in the sun, and they said, "Well, we've been watching those kids for the last 2 days, and they're totally lost. And then you showed up, and you showed them how to survive. That was very nice of you." I said, Yep. And I said, "They need you." And I said, "What?" They said, "Well, I can't stay here, and it's going to snow like the bitch. And once it starts snowing like a bitch, man, I'm not getting out until spring, and I don't want to be stuck out here in the spring. So why don't we come on down and you introduce yourselves to them, and they will, and you'll be good for them, and they'll be good for you. You guys, I can just tell, why are you out here? Because you haven't been able to get back into the world, So you put on your uniform and came out here, and you were with each other who you could trust, right? So I understand. I've been there, done that. You served?" I said, "Well, I worked at the VA." So anyway, I said, "Come on." So I said, "Okay." So they went in there, and the kids like, "Who are these guys?" And they all had guns. I said, "These are your new friends." These are the kind of friends you need because they got guns and you don't. If anyone ever would show up to threaten you guys, these people would eat them alive. Where you can be nice to them, they'll be nice to you, and it'll all work out great. And so, so it did. So we had another beautiful night, and they had a lot of stuff in their packs, right? And much better than the crappy canned food I had, you know. So the next night, and these guys still have some booze. So the Army guys like booze, so they're being, and they had a little, you know, nice liqueurs. And so the next night with the Army guys, I made a real meal, and we had a nice little party. And the Army guys had instruments, so they were making music. So it was really fun by all. So, you know, and they showed the kids how to get the most out of the stuff they had. So we were all, you know, snuggled up, warm as a bug on the rug. And the next morning, we were making breakfast. And someone's cell phone rings, right? And I said, motherfucker, you guys have cell phones? And I said, well, I do. I just, you know, have kept it off. And I only turned it on when the Army boys, just in case. And I said, say you're sorry now. They're now your friends. And so anyway, that phone rings, and it's this girl's aunt, and she goes, "Your mother's scared. See, you haven't talked to her in 3 weeks." Blah 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 blah. And she goes, "Well, I'm, you know," and she goes, "Well, you're only, you know, 40 miles from me," and she goes, "Why don't you, you know, your mother wants me to make sure you're alive, and you come here, and you know." I said, "Well, I don't want to leave my friends." And she goes, "Well, you just come here and I'll give you money. And, you know, you can charge your phone up and blah, blah, blah." And I said, and she goes, "Can you drive me?" I said, "Yeah, for Benjamin." She goes, "What's a Benjamin?" $100. Your aunt has money. You can give me some. I have none. So, so we get in the car and we're driving, you know, towards her aunt's. And she goes, "Well, I do have money." And I said, "Why did you have your friend hitchhike and spare change at that place?" And she goes, "Well, I didn't want to give it to them." I said, "What kind of..." And so she had like $300 or $400, so I took a Benjamin off of her. And she goes, I want to stop in a store first." I said, I'm going to drop you off your aunt's. And she goes, "Well, my aunt said that I should go to the supermarket and she'll be waiting for me. She doesn't want you to know where she lives." I said, "Oh, one of those kind of people. I see the apple doesn't fall. What do you mean by that?" I said, "Nothing." So we go to the supermarket, and she is like, you know, I'm in the rodeo, you know, little wagon that's battery operated, and she's got a big thing, and she's got all kinds of food, and her aunt hasn't showed up yet, right? So she's like just filling the basket up, and so we're on, you know, there, and her aunt shows up, and they hug and kiss, and we're waiting online, and this woman comes up to me and starts squeezing my arm, and she goes, "Are you a handyman?" And I look up at her, and she's somewhere between 48 and 60. And she's somewhat attractive. She has long white hair. She's kind of thin, but not emaciated. And she got nice clothes on, nice shoes, nice jewelry. And but she's wearing this coat that makes her look like the Michelin Man. Anyway, so she goes, "I'm just retired, and I bought this nice house in the mountains, and it's really beautiful, but nothing works. And my mother is there, and our cousin, who's crazy, is with us, and he's not worth anything. So I need a handyman." And I just kind of go, "Yeah, baby, I am your handyman." So I tell the girl, "Have a good time. See you later. Bye." "Where are you going?" I said, "This lady needs a handyman." So we go out there, I at least have a Benjamin in my pocket. And so, she goes, just follow me. So we drive up into the mountains, and she does have a really nice spread, maybe a 6,000 square foot place, and really nice joint. And very quiet, very off in the distance, right? But very, very. I'm looking around, and she's got photo panels. She's got solar collectors for hot water. You got a gigantic pile of wood that's covered and right next to the house. And I mean, this is like, and she bought a lot of food. So I'm going, okay. And I mean, real food, not canned food, steaks and fish and, bread and cheese and wine. And I said, okay, I can deal with this. And like I said, she's relatively pretty attractive. And anyway, so we got there, and her mother is a hoot, really amazing woman, right? What's a great song by James Taylor? Yep, hey again. I'm telling a story about the Michelin lady. The first time John threw me out, when you were saying it was nice how I treat John. Well, John is, to me, he's my friend. I never give up on a friend, but I never put myself in harm's way, right? I'm always kind of know my 20 and know my 360 and know what people are going to do, right? So I can handle it. So I go with this woman, and I meet her mother and it's, did you ever see the movie or the play Arsenic and Old Lace, right? And that's exactly what it is. So mom's maybe 70, she's maybe 52, her brother or her cousin is maybe 60, and he thinks, he's like Teddy Roosevelt. He's running around, he's it's like a movie, right? But they got a lot of money, and they show me, and everyone has their own suite. And she goes, you can stay here. And it's like unbelievable. One of those beds that has like the 1 foot super foam kind of, and it's heated and cooled. And not only do I have a bathroom, I got a jacuzzi, and not like a bathtub jacuzzi, but like a swimming pool jacuzzi, my own big screen TV. It's got, Wi-Fi. I did, grab my laptop and my phone. So it's like, oh, this is amazing. But my phone didn't work there. I could go on the internet and use it, but and so, I take a great shower, and she goes, this is what I need. First she goes, so it's gotten really cold, and up until now, there is this, they have this kind of heat that's okay, but it was like 20 degrees, and I had to run. Her mother was smart enough to run the water, right? And her mom was like, because she was smart enough even to like go outside, get twigs, and stick it into the toilet where the little flapper is, and turn the water down so it just dribbled. And so anyway, mom was smart. Daughter was not dumb, but sheltered, and the cousin was nuts. Not violent nuts, not like John, not stupid nuts, entertaining nuts, right? He was really smart, well-read. We had really great, and he thought he was Teddy Roosevelt. So he was like reenacting that. So this was not bad. I was kind of amused. So, this lady was Miss Crafts. She knitted, she wove, so she had boxes and boxes. The whole garage was full of yarn in boxes and packed, and everything came from Amazon. And she was just buying more and more stuff in the garage. And she had a couple of cabins that so full of stuff. And I said, okay, this is no problem. And they were all wired, but the lights and heat didn't work in those cabins. And anyway, so I said, okay, I can deal with this. And so why the heating didn't work was this really amazing mixture of the hot water from the sun and burning wood and gas. But the gas was the least of, they had gas fireplaces, right? That was the heat. They didn't really have the gas in the air mover, right? And the air mover was just hooked up to a strange, kind of system for air conditioning rather than heating, and the heat came through radiators, right? And they weren't getting any of that, so they had the gas heaters in the fireplaces, and the room that Mom was in and the room that the lady was in had their own gas fireplaces. And so anyway, I kind of sussed it out, figured out how it worked, and saw that a few relays were needed to be replaced. So I just overrode them and got the water flowing through this. And it was a really sunny day. Man, that house heated up like bang, right? And then I moved a whole bunch of wood into where the firebox and it was a Swedish thing. When I was in Sweden, I knew all about, this was a Swedish system. So I kind of, oh yeah, I've seen this before. And so I got it going like immediately and got the house warm. And they were like, wow, he is a handyman. And then I said, so this is what we're going to do. If it don't snow, we're going to go down to Lowe's, get a bunch of lumber. I'm going to make shelves for all of your everything. I take it out of the boxes and put it on the wall. So now you have space to walk around in, because your garage is like full of boxes. You can't walk around. Those cabins full of boxes. You can't walk around. But the walls are totally open. So we're just going to I'm going to make shelves in there, and I'll get the electricity working. I'll get the heat working in there. And then we'll go on to the next project, because she had a lot of things she wanted to do. I was a handyman, right? So her mom and I got along great. I mean, just right. But Mom didn't, she liked girls. The lady, she didn't really have sex, right? She didn't know kind of what it was. And Mom told me that. She goes, she was always scared of it. She never had a relationship, never had a boyfriend, never had a girlfriend. I said, well, you like me. Maybe I like girls. And she goes, so this lady got more. We played chess. We read books. We watched movies. I rub her feet. I gave her massages. She had a massage table. And I put her on that table, and I turned her into, Jello. And I would, with the cousin, I said, Teddy, so when you went to India to learn how to meditate? Oh, yes, I learned. So he and I would, and he was growing great pot in the basement. He had some really good food. So this was like, I'm going to spend the freaking winter here. Not a problem. And the town, so they were kind of, because of this place we're out in the woods, we were right kind of on the border of Virginia and West Virginia. This town was in Virginia that she would go to. I don't know whether they're in the place was in West Virginia or Virginia itself, but this little town that was about 15 miles from her house, a nice town, I forgot what it was called. Nice little town, very nice little town. And it was for rich people, and it had been for rich people. And Virginia's for rich people. And these are old folk, and that's, and so they had 3 or 4 really, really, really nice restaurants, right? And so, Mom and the lady, they would, you need some money. And I'd be fixing it. They said, we had a contractor, and he wanted like $100,000 to fix the place. I said, they kept giving me money. So people give me money, I do not refuse it, right? I see it as a gratuity. Just like when people gave me money on, PayPal, which is still there. Everybody wants to throw something in, it'd be nice. But I gave up on that. It was nice when you guys would send, some people would send $500, back in the day. And so, for the first 2 years, I would get at least $100 to $1,000 every month, which was pretty nice, without having to have YouTube pay me, right? So when I did the shows for Johnny Boy, he was making about $2,500 a show. And that's why I got my own thing, because he didn't give me a pay, and he threw me out 5 or 6 more times, because every time I did a show, people told him to shut the fuck up, and they didn't want to listen to him. They thought he was a stupid, sick fuck. And then what really got him was we would do a show, and he wanted to be the star, but every time he took the camera away from me telling a story, they would scream at him, and then the trolls went at him like tooth and nail, right? And let me alone, right? Oh, no, let's hear that old guy tell a story. Shut the fuck up, John. So we did maybe 17, the story about Jimi Hendrix, story about David Bowie, the story about 17 shows. And each of them got about 70,000, right? So he would throw me out after doing one or two, and then I would go off and have an adventure like this one. This was the first adventure. And then he would beg for me to come back, right? Oh, you can stay forever. I'll give you money. And we made contracts. Never. All he did was steal everything I had, right? All my ID. He took, like I said, Dragon sent me all of these thumb drives of all the shows. So he said, if you two ever took you down, you'd have them, right? John took them all, right? He took my wedding license. He took pictures. There was this box my grandfather made, right, out of mahogany and it's either pearl or ivory. He was a great carpenter, my mother's father. And he had all these pictures of his wedding, his parents' wedding, my great aunt, what upstate looked like, and and what was really great that John took that was kind of annoying. There was a diary my great aunt had about her brother who fought in the Spanish-American War and died, and it was really, and John took it. I didn't take it. Well, he threw me out. The first time he threw me out, and I came back maybe a month later, and he said, well, I didn't take it, but if I did, I own it because I own everything in this house, and that's John. Right? He's a little less than that now that he's, praise God, praise Jesus. But he can get, Anyway, so I don't ever give up on John. I do my best. I'm not going to go live there anymore, Forget about it, I'll call him up. If I'm in that neck of the woods, I have a few gigs coming up that I might be there. And I would say, John, come and let's go have lunch. If you can come down and have lunch with me at a couple of my favorite eateries, that'd be nice. Tweaker, yep. So anyway, so I had a really good time with that lady. And I liked her. She was, but she was so about sex. And her mother kept saying, if you're only a woman. And I said, well, my first wife said I was the best lesbian she ever knew. And so she says, well, we're you're getting too old and I'm already too old. So let's just enjoy our company. So we did. So we were having a great old time. And one night I wake up and the lady is naked, like humping me, right? She doesn't know how it works, but I wake up with her on top of me, humping me. And I said, wait, what are you doing? And she goes, I just want, I don't know. I said, listen, we're doing fine. We like each other's company. We enjoy being with each other. I'm a very old-fashioned kind of guy. So I need to get to know the woman. Now, I know you're pretty good. So what we need to do is go on an adventure. Because this lady has more money than God. And she goes, really? I've never been on an adventure. I say, I know. That's why you need to go on one. And I've just talked to a friend of mine in New York, and he's having an opening at the Whitney Museum. And she Googled, said, wow, this is like amazing. I said, yeah, it's like, because she was an art, she's making all this art. And she goes, I said, you need to meet my friends in New York. You would get along. You like me. You like these folk, right? And so I already talked to him. He's got a really nice condo that we can stay at, right? And I already called up, Amtrak. The train stops just 20 miles down the road from your house. And we can take the Amtrak train from there into New York City, straight in. We don't have to, no airport and have to take a cab. Just take us right into, the train station, and then we're there, right? And I find that there's a train leaving at 7 p.m. so we can drive there. That town has a really nice restaurant. We can have dinner, and we can drive to Amtrak parking lot, buy our ticket, and that allows us to park there for however long. We'll get a return thing. We'll be a week there, right? We'll go to this. We're going to go there before the show opens so we can have fun helping him hang the show. And you can go, I'll take all the restaurants I built and all the clubs I built. We're going to have a great old time. And this is how, then with this adventure, we can, we're going to stay in a really, really nice condo that's right on, Central Park. We can go into the 2 hotels that I used to hang out and go to those bars. And I bet you the bartenders are still there. So I'm going to show you a really good time. And so she was excited, right? So, and she's like getting her suitcase ready and getting everything ready. And she goes and we go, to Walmart's and she buys me a nice outfit so I don't look like a hobo. I said, I always so she dressed me up. She cut my hair. She's really excited. And the day before we were going to go, and she has bought all the tickets on her credit card and all that stuff, right? And so, and she got a nice car. It'll make it. It's still sunny. It's not snowy. It's supposed to be pretty good weather. And it's, around Christmas. The decorations are still up. New York is the best on Christmas time. Anyway, so I come to make, and I've been cooking all their food, right? I'm like their chef. And so I come and usually Mom makes the coffee. She's good at making coffee. And I make first oatmeal, and then I make an omelet or bruschetta or whatever, right? And so Mom says, she's upset. I said, what's up? Why is she upset? She's scared. Why is she scared? She goes, oh, well, she's never been, anything like you just planned. She's never done anything like that. That's why she needs to do it. She goes, she locked herself in her room. So I make a little tray of food, and I come in there. I have breakfast for you. And she loves mangoes. So, we get mangoes all the time, and I cut them all up. And I have mangoes. And so she do. Yes, I've actually made mango juice. Oh, wow. And so she opens up, and she's been crying, and her face is all puffy. And I said, come on, what's wrong? And she goes, well, you're going to leave me there. I said, what, are you nuts? No. I told you, I'm an old-fashioned guy. I got to get to know you first, and we had to have an adventure. This seals the bill. We'll have sex. And we're going to be in this amazing condo, a big, gigantic bed overlooking Central Park. And she goes, your friends will hate me. I said, no. Anybody who I'm with, they're down with, right? So anyway, I do my best to try and, talk her into it, but she won't go. She locks herself back in. I basically, I said, well, we don't have to be at the Amtrak until tomorrow at 7 p.m. So don't say no until, like 4, I'll just keep asking you. And, at some point you'll say, okay, let's go it, right? I'll tickle you until, you'll anyway. But no, she doesn't do it. So then she really, no, you hate me, blah, 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 and so, she locks herself in the room and she won't come out. She won't even open the door for mango juice. So I go, fine. And, by this time I'm at an age and dealing with John, I have no problems. So I already got like, $5,000 or $6,000 from these people. And I probably did about 30,000. If they got a real contract, I'd probably be, the guy wanted 100 grand, like $5,000 is, they got up, and I took it as gratuities, right? So I basically knocked on the door and said, sweetie, I'm leaving now. Where are you going? I said, well, you don't want to go on a trip. That means you don't want to have a relationship. You don't want to have an adventure. You don't want to be, I'm an old-fashioned guy. You don't want to try it out. You can just, you want to feel safe. So go back to feeling safe, So she goes, I said, come on out. It's still, we could still go. Otherwise, I'm getting in my car, just drive away. That's it. See you later. Bye. And so, Mom, Teddy Roosevelt, come on. He's come on. You need to, I said, how about we take everybody? We all take the Amtrak train. We can do that. Nah. And so she wouldn't say anything. and I just got my car. And I drove back to, so I had like $5,000, right? So I kind of had a friend in Maryland, went down and saw them. And then so I was at a place where my phone worked, right? Turned it on. And John, where have you been? I'm not so worried. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Please come back. Please, blah, blah. We'll make a contract. I'll give you blah, blah. I'll pay you money. I'll pay you money. Please, blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay. I said, where'd the Russian girl go? Well, she left. I said, do you know where she went? No. And what she did was, so this girl had more degrees than a thermometer. She spoke like 9 languages. She basically went to Virginia Tech and went to their language department and said, here's my CV. I have a green card and I can stay here for a year. And she did. And she became an American, right? So, and she came, John begged her to come back because she was the only person he ever had sex with. And, she came back once and then just came. And he said, did you shave your pussy? Did you shave your armpits? And she said, fuck you, bitch, and went back. She said, I just came to see Al. Al, thank you for everything you did. You're a great guy. You want to come to DC? You want to come to tech? I said, no, I don't like tech. She goes, I know what you mean. So I stayed a little bit contact with her, but she had her own agenda. So I came back, and that's, that was the first time John threw me. He threw me out 32 times, and every single one. I mean, sometimes he threw me out at like 3 a.m, like, And basically after that one, I basically talked to God and said, okay, John. I said, okay, God, when John throws me out, this is me in training for me to always trust you got my back. So for 32 times, he threw me out, and every single time it was frigging amazing. I have 32 stories like that one. Does John have any stories? No. What does John say? I worked so hard. Oh, my father. Please, John, you've never worked a day in your life. John did not fix that place up. Yes, he painted the floor, but Mr. Mike did all the carpentry, put all the sheetrock on there. I did 90% of the taping, because I'm a pretty good taper, and I did the rough painting. John is anal retentive, so he's very good about painting around, the whatchamacallit, the moldings. And so he had all these windows, right? These really big windows, and he put them in the wrong direction. Instead of going up and down, he put them sideways. And so the springs don't hold them in because gravity isn't going down. So if you push the window too far, it falls out. Instead of putting it like the way it was supposed to, he put it was like, and if he wanted windows to go this way, he should have gotten windows but he didn't. He got them anyway. That's John. And so, when he put those in and the sheet was there, there was a lot of corner bead. And so I kind of tacked the corner bead around the windows and makes a really sharp edge. So it was the sheetrock went straight to the window. So I thought that looked pretty good. And so John said, no, it has to have molding. And so he threw me out one time and he came back. And he's not a carpenter. So, the molding had spaces. So he had to use plastic wood putty. It looked kind of nice with the very modern, So anyway, but that's John, and he doesn't seem to ever change. He makes, he stopped smoking cigarettes. I got him to stop smoking cigarettes. That was good. I mean, he was like a chimney. And, nicotine is the most addictive substance. So if he could stop smoking nicotine, he could stop drinking coffee, but he can't, seemingly. And every time he's like, is because he's drank 13, 20, 30 cups of coffee, right? You can just tell by how manic he gets. Because normally he's not that manic. He's more a depressed guy than manic, right? He gets more than 5, 6, 10 cups of coffee, and he's starting to go off. So So anyway, I care about John. I only wish, he's got this big house. I've been trying to get his kid, his son, his oldest. We're just children. His oldest son is 19. His youngest son is 17, I think. And the little girl, she's not so little anymore. She's like 9 or 10, and that's not his. That was a little thing Danica had with the tow truck guy, right? He said, well, I got to be here for the kids. Well, he hasn't been for at least, I think the last time he shown the oldest boy was 8, and so 10 years ago. He hadn't been with them for 10 years. He's gone to visit with them maybe 6 times, and he ended up in the funny farm about 3 of the times. And I said, John, baby, I'll go with you. I'll negotiate, right? Because I knew Danica, I met her. Like one time, John, they were there in Roanoke for 2 of the years I was there, and John never went to see them, right? And one time I said, John, let's, he wanted to go somewhere, he would pay me to drive him someplace to do something, right? So I would go with him. And so we did that. And then coming back home, I knew where she stayed. So it was and the reason why she stayed there is that John's parents put her in a very nice house. She didn't pay rent, didn't pay electric bill, the gas bill, water bill, taxes, nothing. And she got cash from them. So, and then her father kind of, he came and took him back to Texas. So that's the story. But for 2 years, she was there, and he could have gone and seen them every day, but he didn't. So I took him one day, and I was getting out of the car, and John was about to jump the seat and drive my car away because I left the keys in the car. And luckily, I just kind of leaned in and took the keys out because he couldn't get over let's see, are you sure you want to stop? No. So anyway, so I took the keys and he was like, and basically I hit the doorbell, and there's Danica. I said, Danica, I got John in the car. I want to take them down to the park so they can play together. And she goes, here's the key to my car. All their toys are in the car. Just take my car, right? So it's not like she didn't want John and the kids to be together. She just, she was like, please take them, because she, was with them 24/7, right? And so she needed a little space. So that was that. Let's see here. What time is it? Oh, 4:23. Okay, I think I did enough. The bunch of you have left. So, and and all the people left because the thing said, do you want to quit? I must hit the X there. So it's time to go. So that's the end of that story. And it's, so I'm here in the deep green, right? And there's a whole bunch of new people, new different stuff. But what I've learned is no matter where you go, it's always the same. I've traveled the world. I've been everywhere. It's pretty much the same, because you are who you are. And if you realize that you're here to do your best, you can do it with anybody, right? Sawdust is getting to me here. It's pretty amazing. The sawdust is so fine that just a little bit of the breeze, and there's just a little bit of a breeze, it kind of wafts it up. And when I did construction, I would clean up the construction site every friggin' day. This place is like a war zone, right? So anyway, and they've been at this since March. So anyway, but that's okay, because they're not renting this joint out, and so I get to come up here kind of whenever I want to talk to you guys, except when they're working. I don't come up here when they work. Don't want to interrupt. So anyway, that's the story. I hope I think I covered everything. I'll leave you with this realization that the next 4 months are going to be, you think things are weird? I mean, Israel is going to nuke the Strip and Hezbollah, right? Lebanon. And Iran, right? And so the war between Iraq and Iran was one of the worst wars of the 20th century. It almost equaled the death and destruction of World War II, and it was only two countries, right? Two countries that we and NATO gave all the weapons to, right? So sound familiar? So so that's going to be in the Mideast, and when that shit hits the fan, Putin will nuke Kiev, right? And hitting the hospital, killing the kids was just a primer to say, see, this is what we can do. And so, and then once they do that, they're going to do Odessa and Kiev, and they will hit tap to they will do Kiev and Odessa, and they will also hit that town right next to Poland where most of the hardware is coming over, especially when NATO and us are about to give Ukraine. We have trained up about 200 pilots to fly F-16s, and we're going to give them about 100 to 200 old F-16s. But F-16, new or old, is still pretty good. And if you're a good pilot and you have good technicians, they can do some serious stuff. So if they have an Air Force, they can bomb the crap out of the Russians out in Ukraine. That's the only way they're going to get them out of there. And they can bomb the crap of them in the Crimea. And they got about 1 million Russians in Crimea. I would say a good bunch of them have already left. But Russia is getting most of its food from Crimea. And so it's like their version of Florida. Russia's version of Florida is Crimea. Anyway, so that's what's going to happen. And so since the Supreme Court said our president can be king, so everyone's freaked out that Donald Trump will be president, right? So this is only what it is that basically both these guys are reading from a script. They both work for the hidden hand, Hail Hydra, and they are basically scamming the American people, because what's going to happen, so Donnie's people who are pulling his strings have this thing called the Plan for 2025, right? Basically, turn us into Hunger Games, right? And Donald doesn't look like Donald Sutherland, that's for sure. So, Donald Sutherland had nice white hair. He kind of looked like me. People say that I look like Donald Sutherland, especially when I was younger. And he was, too. Anyway, so Donald's just the trap. And so what Biden's going to do, he is going to pull the trigger on having martial law, right? And he says, I have to save democracy, because Biden is deluded. And Trump is, what's the thing, Alzheimer's disease, not dyslexia, but the other D one that old people get, dementia. So Donald's demented. Just listen to what he lies, he cheats, he steals, and he thinks that's what he should do. He's demented. Delusional JoJo, he's living in another world, and he's got a wire straight in his head. So, he can read that teleprompter pretty good. The little speech he gave to NATO the other day, not bad. He was a flubmeister at that debate on purpose because, CNN did not, Donald lied 100%. What do you think about Social Security? The Mexicans are stealing it, It's like, and they did not ever say, hey, that's bullshit, So that was all scripted, not an audience. The color and lighting of it was, this was to get into the American people's heads. So when JoJo declares martial law, and I lived in Australia when they declared martial law twice. I know what it's like. And what it's like is nothing changes, except they can just knock on your door and take you away. And then it's like 1984. Go read 1984. That's where we're going to go, right? Which will lead us into Brave New World, which will lead us into Fahrenheit 450, whatever, and which will lead us into, we will be living Star Trek's Federation. Because if you deconstruct the Star Trek Federation, it is a fascist entity. They're not going after Africa. Earth is all happy and woo, and everyone has a nice little box, and they wear these kind of, not fancy, but cute clothes with bright colors. And, they get their 3 squares a day from the replicator box, which you think frozen food is bad? I mean, why do you think Picard only gets Earl Grey hot out of the replicator? Because, that they can't really screw that up too bad, right? So anyway, that's what you're looking at, kids, right? Now, they will have me, they will just come and, hit my man cave with a laser-guided missile, and it'll be fine, or they will show up with a limousine and go, "Doctor, it's time for you to help us again," and they will give me an offer I can't refuse, and that'll be fine too, because I don't give a frack about the political or ideological, right? All I care about is it's like Stalin said, when one person dies, that's a tragedy. But when 620 million people die, it's just numbers, right? So I am the guy who wants to keep it from getting there. You want an ideology, I couldn't care less about it. They're all the same, right? Oh, nobody's watching it anymore. So I gotta go. Catch you later.